Kelly Bear here. Welcome to my channel. We're doing a top-down video today, so you'll only be getting my hands. It's a very grey, very rainy day here in London, and I did try setting up this at my desk, but the lighting was just absolutely terrible, so I have had to bring everything downstairs and bring my mic arm and everything and my phone cradle to clamp it to my kitchen table. My kitchen table where I used to film all of my videos, for those of you who've been around for a very long time. So yeah, this is the Jacques Vieville walkthrough that I said I would probably be doing in my last video. If you've seen it, or if you haven't seen it rather, I did an unboxing of a bunch of goodies that were sent to me very kindly by Artisan Tarot. They really spoiled me. Very, very sweet of them. And I wanted to get sort of a closer look. I did show some of the cards from the decks that they sent me in that video, but obviously, you know, not a full flip through, walk through. But you do get my first impressions of each of the decks in that video, as well as some other little bits that they sent. So this is a restoration of the Jacques Vieville, and I'll just read the little front card here. Actually, I'll see if I can carefully pick it up from the thing, and it says, "This restoration is based on the 1650 tarot deck created by Jacques Vieville in Paris. The only known copy is preserved in the National Library of France. Due to the age and craftsmanship, many details are indistinct. Conditions of the time required card makers to labour quickly under a strict work environment, which led to the deck's unique character." So it just goes on. I will hold that there if you want to pause and read the rest of it. But this is the box that it came in, and as I mentioned in the previous video, sorry, you'll probably hear my boiler clicking on and off now because we have got the heating on because it is pretty chilly. My hands feel quite cold actually. But the whole production value of their, oh, and now Dr. Nom is, you can hear dog paws tippy tapping. Oh, boo boo. This is going well, isn't it? So yeah, as I mentioned in the previous video, that the quality, the production value. Now she's going to have a drink of water, I think. I'm not starting again. We're just going to go with it. The box, even the box, the tuck box is really nice. You know, you've got the cutout so you can get your thumb in, the little extra bits so you can like really get the cards out, and it's really sturdy, which is always nice, especially if you prefer to keep your decks in the tuck box. It's nice to know that it's probably gonna, you know, be pretty long. It will probably have some longevity to it. Oh my goodness, what are words? This is the back of the deck, and yeah, so this has been tidied up by Christina Condor with the assistance of William Rader. So what I thought I would do is, I'm just going to put the box out of the way there, is compare it to the CBD Marseille. So this is the Camwan Bendov, because this is by Yoav Bendov, who sadly passed away several years ago. But he, as you'll see here, actually, I'll just pick this one up. A faithful reproduction of the traditional tarot cards based on the standard deck printed in Marseille by Nicolas Convert in 1760, restored in 2010. And these used to be available on Yoav Bendov's website, and he made the images free for you to use and print as long as you weren't making money from it, which is very, very cool of him. And then eventually this was printed and put out by, I don't know who, US Games. It was US Games. So and the reason, and you can actually, this is a perfect example, like straight off the bat, why I wanted to look at this one in conjunction with another classic reproduction deck is because this one has quite a few differences and idiosyncrasies compared to a lot of the other traditional decks, you know, like the Dodal, the Noblet, the Convert, so on and so forth. It's kind of doing a little bit of its own thing. So without further ado, actually, I'm just going to stop the video and see if I can get us a little bit closer. So hang on in there. Okay, so That's a bit better, isn't it? You can see a bit closer. And you'll see straight away the coloration difference as well. So the Restoration here by Yoav Bendov has much more sort of, I would describe as garish, bold colours, very sort of primary-esque colours, primary yellow, primary green and so forth. And here with the Vieville we have much more sort of muted, almost jewel-like tones. We've got this sort of muted orangey red. There's almost like an aubergine, almost fading into a sort of a brown tone. We've got a much more peach tone here, and a much more sort of muted mustard yellow, and a darker blue. Really lovely colours. And straight away, like I said, you will see that Le Mat, the Fool, they're facing in different directions to each other. So we have a lot of the same elements. We've got the uneven ground, we've got the plants, we've got the little dog, cat, that's got some very strange feet. This looks more like a dog than this to me. We've got the little bundle there. This guy looks like he's got a little spoon on the end. This guy's got like a little face, which is very intriguing. And they both have some very interesting hats and a little bit of a goatee situation going on, and the bells on their fool's outfit. So yeah, just different directions. I really, from my first like look through last week of this deck in that video, I haven't looked at this deck since doing that video, because I wanted to sort of get more, I didn't want to formulate too many thoughts, if that makes sense. And also I didn't want to like shuffle the deck, I wanted to keep it in order. But yeah, I really enjoy the facial expressions of the people in this deck. I do as well for this one, but there's just something a little extra about the faces in this one. So, although here we've got the dog is tearing the trousers, and here we do not. So we now have, again, another difference. The table is a different way. And no, I don't know, I can't remember. It's gone really dark again now. Oh, the clouds are coming in thicker. I'm just going to see if putting my kitchen light on makes things better or worse. Let's have a look. Well, you can see all the shadows of the, let's try the shadows. I'm just going to pooch them down a bit, because the shadow of the thing holding my phone, I think that's, we've got a little bit of glare, but we're working with what we got. Because by the same token, if it was pure brilliant sunshine today, it would also be too bright. And I probably still wouldn't be able to film at my desk, because there would be shafts of light shining across my desk. Basically, I don't really have any good place to film top-down stuff. I just don't have the setup for it or a space for it. It's kind of frustrating, which is a part of the reason why you don't see many of these types of videos from me, honestly. But yeah, so we've got, what was I saying? Oh yeah, like was it a mistake in the printing? Was it just sort of this particular deck that survived was a bit of a wonky version where it was printed slapdash and the person making it was tired and overworked and underpaid, as we like to say. And, you know, because this one survived, this is the one, you know, we shouldn't really assume that they all look like this. Maybe it was meant to be printed the other way around. You know, we just, well, I say we just don't know. I haven't looked into it enough to know. I'm sure someone out there knows. Probably the people at Artisan Tarot, Masha, might know. So yeah, let's have a look. So we've got all the little bits and bobs. We've got what looks to be a bag. I do like the purple stockings. Those are nice. We don't have this little sort of plant growing up between the legs of the Batilleur, which is mentioned in Yoav Bendov's book as sort of, you know, they give it a sort of all sorts of psychoanalytical, I mean, you can make meaning in anything, right? I think traditionally these would have just, if they were being used for fortune telling, I don't think all of, you know, obviously the esoteric stuff and all the psychological stuff that was put onto the tarot would not have been used. And I tend to, although I do like learning about that side of things and the way that people view the tarot, I do tend to, with Marseille, I tend to just keep it pretty bare bones and sort of down to earth, because I learned via Tom Benjamin, and his approach to the Marseille is what made me want to learn it, honestly. Him and Kelly Fitz at The Truth in Story, because it just seemed more grounded and more practical. So yeah. So we have again the La Papesse, opposite way. Her hands are very, very, it looks like she's got gloves on. But we do have a lot of, you know, a lot of similarities. Again, it's just the coloration and the orientation of the papers being in opposite directions. A little bit more similar to each other with the Empress, and that's obviously because the Empress usually is facing forwards. She has the shield on the other side and the scepter in the other hand, so there is some reversal going on. This one is looking forwards, whereas this one is looking to the side, which is quite nice, because although she's facing forward, when you're doing, if you do like sort of open reading like I often do, it's giving you some directionality clues to like what is she looking at. I mean, it does when they're facing forwards as well, because they can just be like looking out at you. She does have a bit of a bitch please face going on, doesn't she? I might try and put these in a bit closer together. There we go. Okay. Boop. Now here we have the Emperor, and they are facing the same way. I do love these details, and what I really like about this is the way that the colours blend. They fade into each other, which of course you wouldn't get with a facsimile or a more sort of traditional restoration of a Marseille, because they're very blocky just by nature of the way that they were made, by the way that they were printed and so on. But obviously with modern techniques and modern technology, we can, you know, we can get some nice blending, some nice fading from one colour into another here, and it gives you this really delicious green in between the blue grey and this sort of muted mustard yellow. Again, really enjoy the faces. Bit of a blue beard. The Pope. And now the Pope, what I find interesting is they're facing the same way, but here, instead of seeing their jammy dodger heads, the back of their jammy dodger heads, we actually get to see the faces, and it looks like both of them have hats on. We have a hat here, but they both have hats on. We still get the symbol of, is it benediction? No even armed cross on there, but we do get these rather angry looking little characters. Look at the little angry faces. I kind of love that. It's not funny. How expressive. Really lovely. So the Lover. Again, we have the Cupid facing the same direction, but we have the person in the middle facing different ways. Now with this one, you get a bit of a sort of a maiden and mother vibe to this. This woman appears older than this woman. Whereas here it's kind of, they seem quite gender neutral actually. And if you look here, this Cupid is looking where they are shooting. This Cupid is looking over here, like what's going on? They're not even looking at what they're doing. Which is, of course, in some decks, the Cupid is blindfolded. So, I mean, yeah, so that is almost like a nod to that. I'm trying to keep these piles neat, but they, you know, this linen cardstock actually is not as slippy as some linen cardstock. It's actually quite a nice texture to it. But, you know, the nature of cards is they are a bit slippy generally, unless they're really matte rose petal. Oh! Ah! Hang on. So at 7, I hadn't clocked this. Okay, so at 7 we have Justice, and at 7 we have Chariot, which we would be more sort of used to, right? So that's interesting. I'm just going to put those down here and just pull the Chariot. So Chariot is 8. Now, is this a misnumbering for this particular deck? I don't know. But here again we have the horses looking in opposite directions and the scepter, or the rod, in the opposite hands. This looks like they've got, I know this is like little medallions holding on some kind of capelet probably, but it does look like they've got like rather fabulous shell bra situation going on, a la Ariel. And we've got the canopy. I do like the wiggliness of the canopy here, and the horses have like really, instead of having hooves, they have these, like, I don't even know what's going on with that there. And then this one's got like a hoof, but this one's got like toes or claws, and then they have human heads. Bit strange. I do like the little beauty mark though. There we go. And only one pauldron on this one. Okay, so here we go. Justice. Let's pop the Justice back up. So Justice at 8, where we would usually expect in a Marseille, and Justice at 7. Probably the closest we've come so far to what we would expect from a Justice, other than the numbering, right? We've got a swap again with the hands that are holding what, and their hats, their crowns seem closer to each other, and they're both facing forwards. No chain on this one though. So yeah, and this behind her or behind them seems to feel more like fabric, whereas here we have the posts or the chair behind Justice. We've got some natural elements down here, but we don't on this one. I really love this sort of aubergine purple so much. I just love purples, purple and green. So now we have, now I need to work out, okay, we have for 9 we have force or strength, but 9 traditionally here for the Hermit. So again, another discrepancy. So I'm going to do this. So we go into the wheel. I'm going to pull this guy down here. This one, I mentioned this in my video last week, this weird like disembodied head just creeping around the corner here is just kind of a little disconcerting. I said it reminded me of, I'm sorry by the way, I keep leaning on the table. I have to be mindful that I'm making my my little phone cradle do a bit of a wibble wobble, but it reminded me of Beetlejuice when his head comes out like a big snake, his head on a long like snaky body. And again we have, it sort of appears to be going and rolling in the opposite direction to this one. So this one's going clockwise, this one's going anti-clockwise. Okay, so let's pop the Hermit back in. So the Hermit is 11 in this, and no lantern, no hourglass, what appears maybe to be a rod or a stick, but actually looks more like the continuation of the robes, so potentially not even holding something, although this in there, they look like they do have something in their hand, so maybe this is the top of their staff or walking stick. It's just confusing because this then swoops down and looks to be part of their clothing. Again, really nice expressive eyes, but yeah, no lantern and no hourglass. Now we get to La Force or Strength in its classic position from Marseille at 11 and a 9 for here. We have what appears, I say appears because, you know, we can't really tell, what appears to look like a masculine presenting figure facing the other way, where we have someone who is clearly dressed in more evidently a more femme presenting figure here. Still have a lion. The lion, you get to see a bit more of the lion's body in this one, but they both still look quite calm, but again facing the other way. So now we have Le Pendu or the Hanged Man or the Hanged One. So again, here we go. There's several decks that you'll see that are like this, where it appears that they've been sort of printed the wrong way around, and so therefore they actually are like they're sort of defying gravity and sort of floating up, whereas here we've got the structure and them then hanging from the rope. So let's just do that for now. So yeah, you can see these two mounds at the bottom here. So it can flavour, depending on the way that you read the Marseille, it can flavour the way that you're going to read the Hanged One, Le Pendu, if you're reading with this deck as opposed to this deck, right? If you say wish, or you can just, you know, the Le Pendu is Le Pendu, like regardless. It just, again, it depends on how you read. Now, I really love the Death card in this deck. I love that they both look like they're having a good time. Dead and Loving It is the joke I made in my isn't that a Leslie Nielsen film? Is it like Dracula, Dead and Loving It? Is that where I got that from? Hell, that's a blast from the past. But yeah, they both look like they're having a great time, though this one looks a little bit more like sassy about it. I don't know. I also like that this one appears to have a bit more like weird, almost decomposing flesh. Like the greens and the purples could be these like bits of decomposing, and this one's got like a natty little scarf on, you know. But yeah, otherwise, again, we've got that situation where they're facing different opposite ways to each other. And I do like with this one, we've got this really quite tall flower, and we've also got what looks to be like a bone as well. Can you see? Sorry, just trying. Can you see that? That looks like a bone. God, the picture quality is just bobbins, isn't it? Oh, one day I'll get a grown-up camera. I say it every year. Okay, so we have Temperance at 14, where we would expect to see them, but rather than they're both facing the same way, so that's a similarity. No wings on Temperance here, and the jugs here, we have that sort of almost magical alchemical aspect where you see fluid flowing, sort of defying gravity. You know, that wouldn't really ever happen in real life unless you were doing it in a vacuum. Whereas here we have two very different looking vessels, and, you know, just being poured water or whatever it is being poured directly down into it. We've got a, see, to me, what does that say? Femme, sol, femme. See, that looks backwards to me, like it's been printed the wrong way. That looks like SOL, sol, which would be sun, femme, F-A-M-A. I don't know what that would mean, but she's also got a staff and a crown. Yeah, so quite a bit different than the usual kind of temperances we see. Again, you will notice the majors, the trumps, the triumphs on the Vieville, they don't have the titles, they just have the Roman numerals, and they're sequential numerals where you see the 4 ones to denote that is a 4 and 10. And we have the Devil. Now this, again, quite different, and I can't remember, there's other decks that sort of have devils like this, and actually more modern interpretations like the Trionfi della Luna by Patrick Valenza, which I have a couple of coffees. I think I'm craving some coffee. A couple of copies of, a couple of different versions of, where you get like versions of the Devil that are a bit more like this, still got the wings, still got the horns, seems to be blowing flames, breathing flames, which is quite cool. And we've got like all these extra faces, like on the shoulder, the stomach and the knees, whereas we don't get that, although I do have some other more classic Marseille which does have like a face in the stomach and on the knees. I'm failing to recall which one's right off the top of my head. And then we have the 2 little supplicants again, which sort of mirrors the Lover card earlier in the deck. So yeah, interesting. I do really like this guy. I do really like him. Look, a little fluffy tail there at the end. Okay, so again, another difference, and the Trionfi della Luna does provide 2 versions of a tower card, because this isn't technically a tower, is it? It's a tree being struck by lightning. For you to choose which ones you want to use, or at least with the copies that I have. So Les Maisons Dieu, the House of God, you know, being struck, people falling, and what would later become Yods in other decks, falling from heaven. And then in this version, we have the tree, we have maybe, I mean, we're not actually seeing lightning, we're just seeing what almost looks like sun and clouds and, you know, manna from heaven, who knows. And we've got this shepherd with their herd of what appears to be sheep and goats, or rather angry looking. This couple of them look a bit mean. I mean, goats are kind of wild anyway. Wild as in like they crack me up, they're very... and again, the star, l'étoile, again, the Trionfi della Luna has the options of having a more classic star and then one of these. So we have the star with the woman kneeling down. She's pouring the jugs. In some decks, all of it into the water. In some, 1 jug on land, 1 jug in the water. We've got the bird, we've got the stars. Whereas this one, we have what appears to be an astronomer with a measuring device in some form of tower with some other kind of equipment and looking up to the sky, right? Looking up to the stars, the star. And he looks a little spaced out. I mean, he looks like he could be tripping balls. I don't know. We have the sun. Oh, la lune. Have I got those? What? I am confused. Oh, am I getting them mixed up? I'm doing it in the order. So this is, I guess this is the moon. I thought this was the sun card because this looks like the sun. It looks to be daytime, although, you know, it's light on the background of this. Very different. What's it called? I've got a by Ian Cumpsty. I've got a Marseille deck, the Rare Triumphs, where they have a card more like this, and there is depictions like this in some of the traditional decks, so they don't always look like this. But I was so sure that this was the sun. Confusing, even though the number, you know, 18 is the number of the moon, and then the next card in this deck does look like the sun, much more akin to the Smith-Waite that we're used to, right? So here we have the two characters in front of the wall in maybe some kind of garden, and then the sun above them, as opposed to where else is the sun going to bloody be? God. Whereas this one, we've got a naked character on a horse. They don't look like a child or an infant. The sun looks incredibly pissed off, which I kind of love. And they've got this sort of flag banner type situation going on. But it's interesting to see that decks as early as this were portraying, you know, suns like this as well, right? So we have Le Jugement. And this kind of quite similar. We've just got a little bit of extra scenery. We've got some trees. We've got what appears to be either some kind of temple or church in the background, or city. And here we have one of this person is rising from the grave, and they're blue, right? Because they've been dead. And these two people appear to be living, and they're like, oh, praise be, our loved one has come back to us. Whereas here they're all in coffins, and they're all quite pink. For maybe they're very, very recently dead. I don't know. But yeah, these are quite close to each other, really, compared to some of the other cards. Nice. Le Monde, the world. So we've got our, you know, our four characters in the corners. We've got our character in the middle of this sort of this wreath. And instead of a scarf, they have what appears to be a cloak. They have a halo. They have a glowing around their head, and they have a rod. They have two, right? Because they have this longer sort of staff-like thing, and then what appears to be a tiny rod in the same hand as this one. But they have this extra item, and both naked. A bit more gender neutral here. You gender queer. We don't know what's going on with regards to, you know, how they would identify. And I do like the ambiguity of it. I love how angry this character looks as well. Although I think those are in the same position, but that lion, there's like those are switched. So those are still the same, but the lions and the bull, opposite sides. Interesting. Oh, excuse me. Have I missed? Oh God. I've not put these in. I thought I'd put these in order. I had put them in the wrong order. Oh, do you know what? I have. I've put them all the wrong way round when I've been... Oh, what a silly. I'm going to have to do that to each of these now. I just didn't put them in the correct order when organising them. Okay, so we have... I think these are going to be a bit more much than muchness, so I'll try and do these more quickly. So we have the ace... God, I wish there wasn't that glare, but there's not very much I can do. Yeah, just they're coming from, again, opposite sides, which we can kind of come to sort of expect from the Vieville at this point. Got a quite similar sort of foliage and arrangement, except we don't have the Roman numerals now on the pip cards, the ace through 10, the 3, So very similar, just, you know, it's just slightly different style of artwork. And here we see lots of, you know, bits being coloured in. And they're like red in the middle of these, and these are all given meaning in like Yoav Bendov's book, whereas here we have very clear like interlocking without any sort of colour blocking. Oh, that rhymes. Interlocking without colour blocking in the sword again, which can, you know, depending on how you read, flavour the way that you're going to read these cards, which is why it's nice to have, you know, a couple of different decks, a couple of different Smith-Waite's, a couple of different Marseille, whatever way you tend to read, right, or whatever system you prefer reading with. I read with both, but Marseille is my preferred way over the last 5 or so years. Okay, we've got, oh, I said that about colour blocking, but we've got this yellow colour blocking here, but no colour blocking here. So they sort of, interesting. Yeah, and then we've got these like little extra fancy bits up here, which we don't on this sword. That's very impractical. If that's, I'm imagining that's plants rather than actually being attached to the hilt of the sword. Make the sword very unwieldy and not very useful for what it's meant to be doing. Okay, so we have 6. The sword through the middle for the 7. 8. 9. And our 10. Cool. I do like this black and yellow. Okay, and then we get to the valet. Again, opposites, different outfits. I do really love the outfits on these face cards, as it were, as we sometimes call them. We've got the knight, cavalier, chevalier. This horse has got a nice plume on its head, very fancy. Spurs on this one's boots as well. Really loving all these tassels as well. This horse is just extra, so extra. And we have the queen facing opposite directions again. This queen looks a little bit more stern. This one looks a little bit more understanding. This probably reads a bit more like Queen of Swordsy in her facial expression, the way we often like see the Queen of Swords, which can be quite cold, and I think she gets a bit of a bad rap sometimes. They're both giving quite a similar gesture with their free hand though, which is quite nice to see. I'm loving this peachy colour as well. We have the king, and so again, opposite ways, facing opposite ways, different style of clothing and armour, but we do get that sort of usual shape in the hat, that sort of almost lemniscate shape. And again, I'm just going to have to excuse my, just what a banana, hang on, I'm going to do it the other way. I'm organised. Do you know what though? I think it was the, I'm saying that it's because this was I remember now. This was the way that it was set up when I did my unboxing, and it sort of threw me off when I was first showing the deck, and I completely forgot between making that video and this one, and forgot that I should have probably checked and put them in the order. This is the one that I put in order myself just before I filmed, because I use this a lot and it was all shuffled. So again, opposite corners. We've got a nice leaf on this one, couple of leaves, where we don't get any actual greenery on this particular one. Oop. We have the 2. Again, these will probably be quite a much the muchness, so I will go a lot more quickly through the ace through 10 for each suit. I feel like this video is a hot mess. I always feel like my top-down videos are a hot mess because I don't know how people make such great top-down videos. Like, they just always look so much prettier than mine. They have better lighting. It doesn't matter what I've tried. They all just come out looking a bit like a bit of a pig's ear, honestly. So, but there we go. And the shadows, sorry for trying to stand out the way. 7, baton, 8, 9, 10. Flowers here, whereas here we've just got the Roman numeral for 10. And then we go into the core cards. So we have the valet. Well, this valet stick's bigger than this valet stick, huh? Again, looking, oh God, looking different ways to each other. This looks more like a fleshy stick. This one looks ruder. The knights, so interesting because the baton in here looks more like sort of just like a branch, whereas here this is a more sort of, you know, refined, deliberately sort of carved and sanded type baton. And their horses in this deck are so extra, like all of their livery is very, very fancy, with another plume situation going on the head there. Really lovely. We have the queens, again, facing the opposite ways to each other. I will say that the faces in this deck, they tend to be softer, they tend to be more sort of smiley, they have sort of kinder eyes. A lot of the people in this deck feel a bit like they're kind of over your shit, which I really like. Not as much as the Taroki 23, which I really want to get, because the coloration, the artwork and the faces on that deck are just beautiful. This guy has a very quizzical. He's like, oh yeah, Shirley, whatever. But yeah. And the way his hand is more like on his hip, like a sassy little bitch. Okay, so again, this deck is, the pips are sort of little stringy. I'm just going to have to put them back. What am I doing? Confusing. Doesn't take much to confuse me, honestly. Right, so we've got the Ace of Cups. Very similar situation going on. Got the water coming out here. Whatever these little things in the middle are. The 2. These little characters either side. 3 in the same layout with the 2 at the bottom, and then the, you know, because some decks are airy, especially when it comes to the coins. I always say the swords in the sword suit, the swords in the middle tended to be pointing upwards, where again with some decks the swords will be pointing downwards, and again don't know if that's just because some decks that survived were sort of printed a bit wonky, and then we just take that as, oh well, then the deck creator wanted them to be pointed down. And again, depending on which deck you use, that's going to flavour the way you read it sometimes, because if a sword is pointed up, it feels more active, whereas a sword is pointing down, it's almost like it's down in the ground and it's sort of more passive in a way. We have the 4, the 5, 6, so very similar layout, 7, 8, 9 and 10. But the cup at the top is facing the other way, and we don't have a flower, we have like a grid pattern in this one. So again, the difference is we get to the valet or the page, they both have, like, again, opposite directions. They've got the lid for the cup in the opposite hand. You know, this page very clearly looks like he's looking into his cup. This guy looks like he's, you know, 3 sheets to the wind, honestly. He is in his cups. We have the Knight of Cups. Now, I think this is possibly the angriest looking Knight of Cups I've ever seen, which is funny to me because the Knight of Cups to me is the dreamer, the romancer, the sort of head in the clouds kind of person. But they like really look kind of, they really got a furrowed brow going on there. Or maybe they're just really concentrating on something. Maybe they're just really, they're daydreaming so hard that, you know, they're just focusing on it a lot. Whereas this guy's a little bit more sort of, yeah, passive, soft face. What is going on with this horse's face as well? Not sure. Queen of Cups. King of Cups. I like the way he's got like his little finger on his belt there, again looking a bit more sassy. They look like they are looking at each other, but I mean it looks like they're like having a king off. I don't know. His cushion like looks really comfy for his little feet. Doesn't look like this guy's got a cushion. So he's like, no, you don't have a cushion. And this cup is open, this cup is covered. And again, I'm just going to do that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, apologies, folks. So we have the ace. We've got a lot of information going on around this one, whereas this one is just, it has the sort of the floral elements, the foliage. The 2, and then this time, this one's busier. We've got more detail. No date on this one. The 3, other way. Interesting. To this one, and I don't know if that's because I've somehow accidentally turned it upside down. I'll have to look at someone else's unboxing of this again to see it straight out of the box, but it makes it, again, it makes it interesting when they, considering a lot of the deck, we'll see this is the right way up, so I imagine it was the way it's meant to be for this deck. I will probably do what I usually do is put, I don't always use reversals with Marseille anymore, but I like to have the option. So before I, you know, start messing around, playing around with this, reading with this deck, I will probably do my little dot. I haven't done it on this one, weirdly. Don't know why. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I do like these coins. This little grid pattern looks a little bit more contemporary, weirdly, with this little pattern inside them. And then we get to the quartz finally. Both facing the same way, but coins in opposite hands and coins at the ground. Opposite sides, and their feet are pointing, so his feet are pointing either side. And again, in Yoav Bendov's book, this is sort of commented on and can be sort of read into, and the same with this. I'm kind of wondering what material that the shoes are made from, with this black with the white flecks. Very interesting. We have our Knight of Coins, the least fancy, the most practical of all the horses is the coins, which seems appropriate, I guess, although one could argue that the coins could also be indicate sort of wealth and monetary success, and would maybe therefore actually have a really overly extra horse situation going on. But I tend to read the Knight of Coins as sort of quite down to earth and practical. So we have these guys facing each other. We have the queens. She again, I just love the faces, just looks kind of, it's the way the eyebrows are done. They sort of downward facing eyebrows makes them look just a little bit more angry. And I do like that we get like the more of a double chin. We do a little bit here, but still quite similar. And then the kings, again, switcheroony. This hat is very fancy. Lots of details on the clothing again. Different coin too. You know, like the queen going on there. Again, oh yeah, I never really thought of that before. Interesting. Interesting. See, the more you see what I mean? Always a school day. Every day's a school day. So yeah, that is a look, a deep dive, not a deep dive, but like a close look at each card in the Jacques Vieville. Well, I didn't look closely at the pips, but you know what I mean. So yeah, what do you think? Which one do you prefer? Do you prefer like the more sort of usual way we see the Marseille structured, or do you quite like this? Would you read with this? Do you have this? And once again, I want to say thank you to Artisan Tarot for sending me this. I will put their information down below for where you can you know, see their social media, their Instagram and their website, where you can purchase this and other decks and other bits and bobs and goodies that they make, like pins and socks and things like that, books. So yeah, I'm excited now that I can start having a play around with this one. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed the video. I certainly enjoyed making it. I hope wherever you are safe and you are well, and I will see you in the next one. Ciao.